Again, with a story out of Baltimore that is shocking the nation. Yet another case of what appears to be a suspect dying at the hands of police officers. The arrest of Freddie Gray was called brutal by witnesses, and it's left a lot of questions about how Gray suffered spinal injuries, slipped into a coma, and ultimately died. RT correspondent Anya Parampil is live in Baltimore now with the very latest for us. And Anya, I understand that in this case, Freddie had 80% of his spine was removed from his neck before he died, and yet authorities are saying they have no idea what happened. What say you?
It is really curious, Ben, and people that I've talked to here say they weren't necessarily surprised that the mayor and the police commissioner got out there today and said that they have no idea what's going on, because something serious went on that they may not want to talk about right now. I mean, we did hear some important things today at the press conference. Commissioner Batts did announce that 6 officers suspended or have been suspended that were involved with the case. We know 4 are the ones who initially encountered Gray when he was picked up here in Baltimore. He also said that they would go and revamp their transportation program, considering that specifically they need to make sure that people who are picked up by the police get proper medical care, considering Gray asked for medical attention when he was picked up by the Baltimore police here. We know that when he was arrested, he got into the van and could breathe, and then about 45 minutes later, by the time they called an ambulance, he couldn't. So the question here is, and the mayor even said it herself, what happened in that van? He was picked up. They said here that he was detained without force. He gave up. So what happened after they detained him and he was in their custody that resulted in this, as you said, severe injury to his spine that ultimately killed him a week later, yesterday? And the deputy police commissioner Rodriguez here said that autopsy came out today and said that, yeah, it was the spinal injury that killed Gray. But the deputy said there was no evidence of force. Now, people here say, what does that mean? Something obviously happened that led to his death, and they want answers. And they say that so far they haven't been happy with leadership here in the city when it comes to these police incidents. When you're talking about this incident, you're saying that obviously something severe happened. Clearly, it was a very severe death. Not only that, but you also keep using the term when he was picked up. And literally in the video, he's being picked up and dragged to that police unit. Let's talk.
The controlled press, the white press, inflames the white public against Negroes. The police are able to use it to paint the Negro community as a criminal element. The police are able to use the press to make the white public think that 90% or 99% of the Negroes in the Negro community are criminals. And once the white public is convinced that most of the Negro community is a criminal element, then this automatically paves the way for the police to move into the Negro community, exercising Gestapo tactics, stopping any black man who is on the sidewalk, whether he is guilty or whether he is innocent, whether he is well-dressed or whether he is poorly dressed, whether he is educated or whether he is dumb, whether he's a Christian or whether he's a Muslim. As long as he is black and a member of the Negro community, the white public thinks that the white policeman is justified in going in there and trampling on that man's civil rights and on that man's human rights. Once the police have convinced the white public that the so-called Negro community is a criminal element, they can go in and question, brutalize, murder unarmed, innocent Negroes, and the white public is gullible enough to back them up. This makes the Negro community a police state. This makes the Negro neighborhood a police state. It's the most heavily...
I support the message that's trying to be sent. Police brutality will not be tolerated. But what I don't support is the way that we're trying to go about sending it. Because this isn't a message this is chaos. Niggas saying they tired of being peaceful, but you not disciplined enough to be violent. You in the streets angry, ready to wage war and shit, but you don't know what war should look like. People who win wars understand the science behind it. To them, war is an art form. But to the average nigga throwing a brick through a fucking liquor store window, war looks like this. The message you're trying to convey, the point you're trying to get across, we will never win. And it's not because we're not strong enough, and it damn sure ain't because we're outnumbered. You probably never thought about this, but there are more civilians walking the face of this planet than there are organizations set in place to enforce the laws that we all follow. But even in knowing that, why is it that we still lose? Baltimore, Ferguson, every other place that shit like this happens but we just don't hear about? Because we are not fucking organized. Police are organized. Military are organized. Fucking drug cartels are organized. They're structured. That's why they thrive. We lack organization because we don't have a leader. We out here rioting and shit, but we have no general to rally behind. We're not prepared to be violent. The police have a captain. The military have a president. When you out in the streets fucking up businesses and vandalizing shit, who's in charge? That's why it looks sloppy and chaotic. That's why it's no direction. That's why when we do shit like this, nothing ever gets solved. Your general would have a vision and a strategy to execute it. That's where organization would come from. You don't have a leader. And without one, we just a bunch of niggas fucking up the community. Destroying an entire mall. For what? Looting businesses. For what? Burning down a $15 million nursing home that took 8 years to build. For what? What did we accomplish? Your general would have said, the justice system has failed us. I'm tired of being peaceful. City Hall, burn it down. Every police station in Baltimore City, burn it down. Find out where those 5 cops live. Handle it. You can't get him? Take care of his family. Spread him out in front of the door so that's the first thing he sees when he walks in his house. That's what war should look like, physically and psychologically. Are you really ready to follow a general who's prepared to be violent? I don't think you are. Because if we were, this is the type of shit that would have been done already. These are the type of violent acts that would have got the message across. Police brutality will no longer be tolerated. Not looting a CVS and breaking into a fucking check cashing place. Now, I am in no way, shape, or form telling anybody to go out and do any of these things. I just want you to understand that we're not prepared for them the way that they're prepared for us. When we do shit like riot and lash out, we don't focus any of that aggression. You're angry, you're hurt, you're tired of being peaceful, I get that. But we not ready to be violent, and nobody's damn sure not ready to be a general, because the cost you pay to lead people is your life. Martin Luther King didn't die because he was too peaceful. I couldn't believe a nigga said that shit to me on Twitter. Martin Luther King died because he was a leader. He had power. Look at anybody in history that was assassinated, yo. They were powerful. Malcolm X was powerful. Nat Turner was powerful. Fucking Hitler was powerful. So it doesn't matter if your intentions are positive or pure evil. If you're in a position to control the masses, you are fucking dangerous, and somebody's not gonna like it. The only way we win is if we're ready to die for it. Cops win because they're ready to die in the line of duty. Soldiers win because they're ready to die for their country. Terrorists win because they're willing to die for their religion. Are you prepared to die for the change you feel you so desperately deserve? Probably not. That's why we don't have no leaders right now, yo. Who do we have? Al Sharpton? Jesse Jackson? Ain't nobody following them niggas. So you don't have a general to enforce peace, and you don't have a general prepared to violently wage war against the system that we all hate. Until we have a leader with a vision and a strategy to execute it, who is willing to sacrifice his life, we will never be organized, and we will never win. No leader, no plan, no fucking progress.
For anybody, and I do mean anybody, man or woman, young or old, that is speaking about a solution to the problems that black people, so-called black people, African Americans, people of color, for the problems that we face in the United States, if they're not speaking about nationality, and I mean this with all due respect, but
you ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers. You ain't got the answers. You ain't got the answers, Sway.
Kanye.
I've been doing this more than you.
Doing what
you
more
ain't
than
got,
me? Come on, chill out.
You
bro.
ain't got the answers.
Kanye,
you ain't got the answers.
I'm asking you.
You
a
ain't
question.
been doing the education,
bro.
You ain't been doing the education.
So who got the answers? What's the plan? What's the vision? What's the strategy? It's the guy with the funny hat on. I know that's what you're thinking. I know it's some of you right now. Probably, oh, that's one of the Moors. In the paperwork, blah, 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 blah. Please. Rather than get your doubts and start interjecting all that negativity, sit back and think on this. Noble Drew Ali, who came over 100 years ago and said, if you do nothing else, proclaim and declare your nationality. It's the same man that taught and inspired the Nation of Islam, Elijah Muhammad specifically, who taught and inspired Malcolm X or El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, who taught and inspired the Black Panthers, who taught and inspired and raised Tupac Shakur. So all of those influential people and all of the great things that all of those organizations and those leaders have done, you mean to tell me we're going to ignore the person that inspired them all? We're going to ignore what he said. We're going to listen to everybody else, but not go back to the source, the leader, who also, by the way, said that Marcus Garvey, we need to work with him and enact his plan. Was working side by side with Marcus Garvey. Does that make sense to you? Honestly. And this is not on a religious or spiritual, this is just common sense thinking. Does it make sense? Does it make sense that none of the leaders, none of the so-called revolutionary people that are out there, nobody wants to talk about nationality or Noble Drew Ali? Does that make sense? Think. I don't want to tell you, I don't want you to just believe me. Look it up for yourself so that you will know for yourself. You won't have to just believe. That's our problem. We always looking and just believing what people say. Proclaim and declare our nationality. When we do that, then if we actually do want to go to war or defend ourselves militarily, we will have a defense force. All the Crips, the Bloods, the GDs, the Vice Lords, the Latin Kings, everybody, all of the gangs, they become our defense force overnight. Officially, legally, lawfully. All of the nations around the world, they got problems with the U.S. They can now help us legally, lawfully. And not just with the weapons. I'm talking about with resources, finance. But none of them can help us, as they haven't been able to help us, because we have the status, not identity. Understand this. We have a legal status as black people, which is Negroes, which is property of the U.S., a corporation. And no nation can interfere with another nation. That's why nobody helps us. And nobody can, and nobody will, until we proclaim our nationality. Or we can keep marching for civil rights. By the way, have you ever seen a list of civil rights? I wonder why. Or we can march in the streets and quote unquote riot. But how far has that gotten us? Really? Has it stopped Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, Oscar Grant, Sean Bell? No. Common sense. There's a solution right in front of our face. All we have to do is implement it. Proclaim and declare our nationality. And what is our nationality? Just for the record, Moorish American, because we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. The answer is right there. The question is, are you ready? Are you truly ready for freedom? Are you comfortable with slavery? Peace.